Hello, and thanks for listening to your SCAMLE's exclusive podcast, Explore Ed. On these episodes, you will enjoy exclusive interviews with some names you recognize and some people you'll be meeting for the first time. In each of our episodes, we will ask you to think and grow and reflect as a professional educator. If you aren't yet a member of SCAMLE, we encourage you to join today. More information can be found at www.scamle.org. There, find out more information about membership, conferences, and professional development opportunities. And don't forget to join us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. My name is Sarah Evanson Atkinson, and I serve as the Professional Development Director for your SCAMLE. I am an educator of 21 years and a past SCAMLE president as well. In this episode of Explore Ed, I had the opportunity to sit and chat with Dr. Chris Burkett from the University of South Carolina School of Education. While we know that it's always important to maintain communication in any relationship to allow it to flourish, perhaps the most pressing professional communication must be taking place between schools and their requisite districts and the professionals at post-secondary ed. If we have any chance of recruiting and retaining any quality teachers moving forward, we must examine the support systems that are in place. Some of the support we currently have in place are inadequate, archaic, and frankly disconnected from the actual needs of a new teacher. We must continue to connect with pre-service and early service educators to make sure that the adult professional relationships are maintained and healthy to provide the best possible chance for long-term teacher success. Please help me welcome Dr. Chris Burkett.
So I am here today talking with Dr. Chris Burkett from the University of South Carolina. And I'm going to let him introduce himself in just a minute. But Dr. Burkett, welcome aboard. We're happy you're here with us.
Thank you so much. I'm excited. I love the work of SCAMLE, and I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners? Most of us already know Chris, but what kinds of things do you do? What do you do in education? How long have you served? Where do your professional passions lie?
Thank you so much again for this opportunity. Believe it or not, this academic year begins year 29 for me in education. I was 11 years teaching in the K-12 public school environment, and then I have been in traditional and alternative teacher preparation for 17 years now. This begins year 18. And in my current role at the University of South Carolina in the College of Education, I am Executive Director of Gamecock Headquarters, which is a fancy, fun name for student services. We do all of the advising in the College of Education, all of the clinical placements. Our Teaching Fellows program all resides with me and my team. And I've got a wonderful cadre of individuals who are all focused on student success. I teach in the middle level preparation program. Currently this semester, I'm teaching the methods of social studies, seniors who will be student teaching in the spring. I supervise interns in the field, both middle level and secondary. And I'm also, as if that's not enough, director of the South Carolina Middle Grades Initiative, which intertwines a lot with South Carolina AMLE.
I will say that our listeners specifically requested access to some of the leaders in our post-secondary flow that we offer here in terms of teacher preparation and just in leadership, specifically in the middle grade. So thank you for being one of those really important people in South Carolina. We appreciate that. So I read an article recently where the writer said that they would never encourage someone to follow in their footsteps and become an educator. And honestly, Chris, that hurt my heart. So what's the most effective way to respond to this, do you think? And what should we all be doing to encourage those who are called to join up?
I think that's such a great question, such a timely question, especially with everything that is going on in our public schools, with teacher morale, with COVID, the pandemic. I think the first thing we need to do is just spread the word about the true nature of being an educator. I truly think those of us who are called to education give back. And I say that not as a cliche, but as what we truly do. It's such hard work, but it is so rewarding that we need to change the narrative. I think too much of what is out there are the negative aspects of education, what's going on at a possible school board meeting and so forth. And we need to change the narrative to what happens in the classroom day by day and how truly lives are changed. And again, I don't want to sound, I keep using that word cliche because, we hear that often, but I think the truth, we need to tell the stories that need to be told. And I think that's through social media, through friends, through even writing editorials we can do to let everybody know the true wealth of being in a classroom, and encourage others that are not in education to thank a teacher, whether they have individuals in a classroom now, such as children or nephews or nieces or relatives. But even if someone has never had children like myself, thank a teacher, because I would not be where I am without one. I've got a mug that, if you all could see, it says, if you can read this, thank a teacher. And truthfully, we all learn to read somewhere. And so we are the profession that trains every other profession. And I say that with great humility, because what we do matters so much. And I just think others need to sometimes be reminded of that. And I know that that's a real easy answer, so to speak, but I think it would just speak volumes, of us just telling all the stories of what's working.
But just being able to express your gratitude, to say, look, I know this is hard and it's difficult right now for so many reasons. I mean, we would love to be exiting a pandemic. I'm not certain that we're in the exiting phase yet. I wish every single morning when I wake up that we're exiting, but I'm not sure that we've completely exited. But just being able to express our gratitude, I think you're really onto something. That, just being able to say thank you, I appreciate you. That goes a long way, no doubt. As a leader in the post-secondary education teacher preparation world, which you clearly are, so what are the top priorities in your professional work right now? What do you take us behind the scenes, behind the curtain for a minute? What do you guys talk about when you're sitting around the table making plans?
I love that, behind the curtain, because it is so mysterious.
It is very mysterious.
It's the same thing, honestly, that's probably happening in your HR offices at your district level. It's recruitment and retention. How can we recruit the best and the brightest into this profession? Once we get them in the College of Ed, how do we retain them? Once they get out into our public school classrooms, how do we help them so that they stay? It is truly, I think, a universal process for all of us, because where it may start with us, where do we place them with the best coaching teachers when they're in the field, so that they have a true experience, but a great experience? How can that then lead to them actually staying? And that dovetails into this whole idea of preparation. How are we making sure that within the College of Ed, we are teaching them what they need to know, the skills they need to know to be successful once they get into a public school classroom in the quote unquote real world? I think at the University of South Carolina, like many of our other higher ed institutions, we like to get them out early, have a diverse experience in many, many different schools and many different settings, so that they know as a teacher candidate what school is like, whether it be virtual in the middle of a pandemic, or more non-trying times, as we will, when things run a little more consistently, let's just say. But I think recruitment and retention is the burden we all share now.
So you touched on something briefly in your response there. You talked about support. Figuring out what kinds of support, that we get the most bang for our buck in terms of support. What kinds of supports have you seen to be most effective?
I think support from high quality, let's start university inside first, with high quality professors, instructors, university supervisors who are not so distant from a public school. I will tell you that being in higher ed for as long as I have, sometimes there are those of us who instruct but haven't been in a school in a long time. And I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure we know what's going on. But then I think it's also important to place these teacher candidates in schools where they not only see the real world, but also see the passion and see the encouragement and see the positivity that comes from education, even in, and I keep saying this, these trying times, because they are, and I hate the word unprecedented now because we hear it all the time, but it's true. But how we persevere, how we're still helping children, and how children are still excelling, even in these times that are very, very different. I mean, teachers are truly changing the narrative, changing the world, changing the paradigm. And I just am so excited for teacher candidates now to see how this happens now every single day.
Some education professionals I try not to hang out with these people, by the way, Chris. Let me just tell you. But some education professionals are highly critical of teacher prep programs, sort of in wildly general terms. And they say things like, well, they don't get teachers ready for this job, or they don't teach what the new teachers need to know. Now, none of that is really helpful critique, right? Because it's not specific and it's not pointed at a specific course or, anything like that. But if you could flip the script, what do you think school districts, school boards, and schools should be doing differently immediately to answer the teacher shortage question that our state is facing, and many other states as well?
I think that's a great question. And I love the part that you mentioned that sometimes these critiques aren't helpful because, it's the same thing that when you hear, our public schools aren't doing what they need to do. Well, what should that be? I need to do more cahoots. What is it?
Right. What is it? Right.
But I think to answer your question, I think it's continued support of new educators. Research shows, and most of us in the profession know, that the first 3 to 5 years are critical for a brand new teacher to experience success. And I think continued support of all kinds is a necessity. And that includes more than just a drive-by, so to speak, observation where you give them one or two platitudes and then a lot of critiques, but a lot of emotional support. We all know that is critical. I know that we have limited time and scope because we're all trying to do what we need to do, and our burdens and our plates are full. But, anything we can do to stop by and see a new teacher and just say, hey, how are you? Really, how are you? And what can I do? And then the other piece that I would say that's also very, very important is talk to your local teacher prep program. We are open to hearing if there are some new innovative strategies. Let us know. We're open for input. If you're doing something really neat, let us know so we can come see. Because I would love, I can speak for myself, that I would love to come into a school and learn new initiatives that are happening that I can then bring forth, or even bring someone from that particular school or district in to speak, because we are not isolated or a silo by any means. And so, it goes both ways. We depend so much on you all to host our interns, our teacher candidates, but we would also love to have you come and give back to us. Let us know what we could do to be better and to prepare our teacher candidates better, because when we do that, we all win.
I love the idea of it being this continuous conversation, so that there's this pre-service educator into full-time. I actually have a contract. I'm a real live, adult educator. And I think there's something, to really think about. We can't just sit around the table and complain. We know that throwing money at it is not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I could use an extra $5 in my pocket, but the reality is that, that doesn't solve everything either. I mean, we have to provide a pathway that feels kind of organic. It feels like I'm moving from the classroom and from post-secondary ed into my own classroom, and maybe some of the shock is taken away. Opening the conversation lines, even thinking about like the SC Pommel group, it was the brain trust. In one room, everybody was sharing, and I really shouldn't be the one in this room. It should be other people that I work with. They need to come in and listen, and they need to come in and share. And I thought that was a really cool opportunity. And so I want to look at that, definitely looking at those two groups, because I think that there's a place for pre-service educators in the SCAMLE too.
I agree. And one thing that just hit me too is we try in higher ed to involve our K-12 partners on committees and be a part, but it's very, very difficult because you all are busy during the day. And even if we try to move it in the afternoon, everybody has things going on, and that hasn't, even though we still do that and it's fruitful, it's not as productive as we would like. So I think, a meeting of the minds at a conference or something of that nature, just exchange of ideas would be so very, very powerful.
That moves us on to middle level advocacy for a minute. So to allow you to talk a little bit about your important role in middle level ed in our state. So we know that you're not just the guy with the grant money, right? That helps with from middle grades initiative, but also very meaningful advocacy you're involved in. And I think advocacy is the only thing that's going to get us out of this pickle that we're in too. So go ahead and talk to us about the exciting work you're doing with middle grades initiative.
Absolutely. And I like to be the guy with the grant money too. But one of the pieces that historically, South Carolina Middle Grades Initiative that I was a part of before I became director was very heavy on literacy. And we know literacy is very, very important, as whether you're a fan or not, Read to Succeed is here. And I think will hopefully longitudinally be beneficial for all of us because, reading is fundamental for another cliche term, but is very, very true. We've broadened the scope of South Carolina middle grades to not only the grant money, but it funnels into professional development. I think professional development is key for all of those of us in the middle grades. And with that professional development comes knowledge. And so we're really working to partner with South Carolina AMLE to add more professional development opportunities, but also to increase our advocacy just for middle level education. There tends to be a slight trend I'm seeing nationwide to revert back to some of the junior high model that many of our listeners, I know I came through that model and did not have the true middle level experience. And I think the more that we champion the middle level cause and how the middle level experience is crucial for our adolescents that come through, which I know the listeners all believe in, but, sometimes we have to convince some others that, a 6 through 12 environment is not necessarily best if we combine it all together, which, I think we have to go back to the original advocacy model, and that is to be informed and vote. And I think that's something else that we have to continue to do. But with South Carolina AMLE, besides championing the legislature, which of course portions money for South Carolina Middle Grades Initiative, is continue on with the professional development.
And Middle Grades Initiative is offering a really exciting opportunity. What is that?
Currently, right now, again, the first opportunity that's up is that certified educators can have their registration paid to go to South Carolina AMLE, especially if their school or district doesn't have opportunity. And so information will be coming forth shortly about how to apply for one of those mini grants. And what we ask, though, of course, with any grant, there comes some stipulations. And what we would like to do, again, in this vein of professional development, is those individuals who go to South Carolina AMLE listen to the sessions, learn and grow, and then come back and share that knowledge with some of their colleagues. And that's what we ask for the grant, is those who go, come back, share with some of their colleagues, let us know with whom they shared and what they shared, and then a grant is absolved.
Final question. This is my favorite one. I know I get to ask every single person who joins me. So if you were to recommend one resource, text, podcast, article, film, whatever, to your fellow colleagues in education, which would it be and why?
As far as a website, the one that I find, one thing I look for in an educator website is the information clear? Is it direct? Is it short snippets, so to speak, so that you can truly derive what you want? And one of my favorite is called The Cult of Pedagogy. It is Jennifer Gonzalez. She is a former middle school ELA teacher, national board certified. But her topics from her, she has blogs and podcasts, so you can listen to it or you can read it, whichever is your best medium. But they range from instruction, classroom management, technology, leadership, attitude adjustments, inspiration. But it's useful resources that a teacher can use immediately. For example, I used one in my class. It's called Is Your Lesson a Grecian Urn? And it talks about how there are wonderful hands-on activities or projects out there, but really lack substantial learning for students. And I think even I look back at my first years as an educator, I would do wonderful hands-on projects, but later the students would say, yeah, we did that. It was awesome, but couldn't tell you the connection to why. My other favorite right now, and I'm going to grab it right now out of my bag, is Bold School. It is old school wisdom plus new school technologies, blended learning that works, by Weston Keshnick, I do believe, but it is a wonderful text that a superintendent recommended to me, and I'm using it in this class as well. But it's really great about blending technology strategies with what some of us will call traditional strategies, and how both are very, very prominent and should be prominent in our classrooms, that it shouldn't be one or the other, or all or none. I appreciate you all and all your listeners. Keep doing what you're doing and know that you are being supported, and we're thankful for you.